Welcome into Rounding the Bases.
Round the bases. Everybody knows Joel Goldberg. It's around the bases. Everybody knows Joel Goldberg.
Hey, everybody. Welcome into another episode of Rounding the Bases, presented by Community America Credit Union, invested in you. This week, we might be investing in, I don't know, some turkey stuffing, whatever your Thanksgiving food of choice is. I might have to get to that at the end of this podcast, just because even if you're listening to this, 6 months later, 2 years later, I don't ever think it's a bad thing to talk about Thanksgiving. It's never a bad thing to talk about gratitude. That will certainly be the theme of this podcast today. Quick shout out to my friends at Chief of Staff Kansas City. I'm certainly grateful for them, partnering with them on a lot of different activities, and really appreciate their support as well with this podcast. If you're looking for a job, if you are looking to hire someone, if you're looking for just a great resource, I say all the time, check them out in Kansas City or not. chiefofstaffkc.com, making connections that matter. Somewhere along the way of this journey of mine, beyond television, but into podcasting and speaking and networking to really get all that going, I was introduced to one of my two guests today, who then introduced me to the other guest that I have today. The beauty of networking and friendship and so much more. And when I'm talking about gratitude, I can't think of better guests to have today. I'm joined by a team of holistic wellness champions who balance the wisdom of experience with fresh new perspectives. Dr. Michelle Robin, who's been on this podcast more than once, I don't know how many times. She is Kansas City's original pioneer of integrative medicine and founder of Your Wellness Connection. She's joined by Bayleigh Petty, program manager of Small Changes, Big Shifts. Together, they are co-hosts of the eponymous podcast that plants weekly seeds of possibility to nourish your soul. Don't we all need that? It's a weekly dose of inspiration fueled by a passion for helping people come fully alive, and through small changes, moves others towards healthier, more connected lives, towards wellness that sticks for generations to come. When you're talking wellness, I'm definitely talking about Dr. Michelle Robin, that office. You're supposed to go in there and get better and feel better, but you feel better on the inside and out. How's that? I mean, that's the way I feel. Bayleigh, you see it every day you're in there. Michelle, you practice it every single moment. So first off, welcome to you both, and in advance, a happy Thanksgiving.
Joel, thank you. And I can't think of a better week to be hanging out with you. It's my favorite week of the year when people really get intentional about gratitude. So it's fun to be here with you.
Well, we have a lot to talk about with what you both are doing. And as we were mapping out the shows, I said, all right, gratitude, let me have you guys, because we could talk for hours and hours now. We should talk for hours about it. It's so important. We'll go where this goes. But Bayleigh, good to have you joining us too. So it's our first time doing a podcast, the three of us together. But you see this every single day. You're practicing it. What do you think about when you think of Thanksgiving week, gratitude, and I think I got it right in terms of the feel of that office. Did I not?
Oh yes, absolutely. And I'm happy to be here. And you said it perfectly. There's just, when you walk into that office, it's a place of healing. That's what you're supposed to do. And so when I was looking for a job fresh out of college and walked into that office, as soon as I was there, when I was in the parking lot, I was actually trying to talk myself out of going into the interview. But when I was sitting there, I was like, oh, wow, this is different. This is where I'm supposed to be. And then as I got to learn what was happening at Your Wellness Connection and this framework and the healing that was happening in those four walls, it was inspirational. And that's when I knew that's where I was supposed to be. And so thinking about the week of Thanksgiving and talking about gratitude, I am extremely grateful for the opportunity to be a part of so many people's healing journey. That's an honor in itself, for people to open up to you and to come to you in a place of vulnerability. And so being able to help guide them through that journey, through what Dr. Robin does in her practice and what we're doing at Small Changes with the education and the implementation of all of it, it's transformational and it's very powerful. And I'm honored to get to do the work.
By the way, I can refer to you as Dr. Robin. I know that's the official title, but there's like this weird balance between, yes, you are my chiropractor and doctor, and like to even say that to people doesn't feel right, because it's so much more. You're a friend, you're a mentor to me. You are so much more. So I just stick to Michelle. I don't think you mind about that one. I'll let Bayleigh refer to the boss by her proper title, but I know your relationship is tight, but your relationship with everybody is like that, Michelle. That's what feels so good about coming into that office. By the way, this was not, any kind of paid advertisement for your wellness connection. I don't even know that they need it, although I will make that recommendation to anyone. But I think it's such a perfect time of year. I guess 365 days a year would be the right time to express gratitude, to be able to express my gratitude towards you and everyone in that office for that matter, because I again, that feeling is always there. But tell me about Thanksgiving week as someone that practices gratitude at the highest of level every single day of the week, mindfully. That is a part of who you are as a human being. What does Thanksgiving week mean to you, Michelle?
Well, first of all, I can always do better, Joel. Thank you, though. I do take my own medicine. That's what I love about being a wellness chiropractor is it's medicine I can take. I'm so glad I'm not a orthopedic surgeon where I have to cut legs off or do things like that, because I couldn't take my own medicine and know how it works. And so at the first part, I'm grateful for the opportunity to be alive. And I'm grateful for the way my body works. As I'm aging, I'm noticing my hearing changing and my eyes changing and those aches and pains. And I think that that's a privilege many people don't get. And it's funny. One of my friends said the other day, they were looking at the back of my hair. They said, "You don't even have a gray hair in the back of your hair. And it's just amazing that you don't have that." I thought, well, that's a good thing. But so it's the gratitude changes everything. And I want to think about M.K. Mueller, who wrote 8 to Great, and meeting her years ago. And I just think about how could I be grateful for the moment, in the present moment, to sit with you right now. So what this week means to me, Joel, is what it means every day. It's moment to moment. And some days I practice moment to moment better than I do. And I'm just striving to live my life in the present moment. And it's tricky. It's tricky, especially as an entrepreneur and business owner and a person that takes care of people. You always think, God, am I doing the right thing? Am I making the right decision? So anyhow, it's hard to stay in the moment, Joel, but I work at it.
Well, it takes effort, certainly every single day. And I've learned that from you, and it never stops, right? In the best of ways too. I mean, it does take effort. We can't coast through it. Let's talk a little bit, Bayleigh. First off, I thought that was really interesting that you sat in the parking lot, and obviously looking back on that now, that's I've got to imagine that's just the fears of going in for a job or whatever it was. I'm sure looking back on that now, you're like, boy, if I knew what this would become, if I knew what was waiting for me, I would have been sprinting out of my car to get in there.
Yeah, I think I graduated in COVID. And so at this point in time, this was probably my 15th plus job interview. My background is in sports and exercise therapy. And so when I graduated, that's what I thought I wanted to do. I wanted to be in the sports world. Well, that was a crazy time to try to be entering the sports world, because nothing was happening. And and so no athletic departments were hiring because they didn't know if they were going to have a season. And so at that point, I was just kind of at a standstill. And I had interviewed at a physical therapy office and had a great interview. And then Dr. Robin happened to reach out to that person and was like, "Hey, I'm looking for somebody that wants to have hands-on, as a chiropractic assistant, somebody that's willing to touch people." Well, my background, I love the human body. That's my forte. I would love to help people heal in that way. And so that was no problem for me. And so when you look back at it now, it's all in alignment. It's all a part of my path. I needed to go through all of those other interviews, all those other closed doors, because the right one was waiting for me. And I didn't know it at the time sitting in the parking lot, but it is kind of just that if you trust your gut, like I just knew I had to go in. I had to go in for my interview. And then I called my mom in the parking lot, trying to talk myself out of it. And then 5 minutes afterwards, and I was like, "Hey, I think I'm going to take the job, and I'm moving to Kansas City in a couple weeks." And so it was a whirlwind from there, but exactly where I was supposed to be. And it has opened up so many doors and so many opportunities to put me in better alignment with what I'm supposed to be doing.
Michelle, what do you make of that? I'm sure you've heard that story before, but Bayleigh is, everybody that works there has a significant role, but you put a lot of trust in her and believe in her, and it's hard to imagine her not there doing what she's doing. One little slight change of decision there, and this this connection, this relationship never happens too. I mean, I'm sitting here thinking about all the little decisions we make in life, or the big decisions. It almost, to me, in many ways, personifies small changes, big shifts. That these little moments suddenly could lead to bigger things. I know it's more than just that, but what do you think when you hear about that parking lot experience?
Well, you're right. I've heard that a couple times, and Joel, it makes me emotional, especially when we're thinking about gratitude. I'm getting ready to start my 33rd year in practice, and that seems so unreal. It's long that Bayleigh's been alive, and I just really trust the Holy Spirit brought Bayleigh into my life. I was at a point. You know me, I'm a little bit, I don't say I'm a perfectionist, but I see a way that healthcare should be delivered. I see a way that healthcare should be talked about and shared and educated. And I want to tell you, Joel, some days I want to give up and just say, Michelle, why do you care? Anyhow, I can go on about all the reasons why I need to care, but I'll tell you about all the reasons I shouldn't care. And then this young woman drops into my life, and I had no idea at that moment what a profound impact she would have on my journey. And so it goes both ways. I've been fortunate. I've had many wonderful people work for me, but Bayleigh's rare. Bayleigh's rare, and she gets the heart and the vision, and it's like she can talk what's in my heart better than I can. And so for me, it's probably one of my top 5 things I'm grateful for my journey is that God brought me Bayleigh Petty to help carry on this legacy.
And that legacy involves small changes, big shifts. And Bayleigh, I don't think you knew what you were signing up for when you started this, right? Now program manager of something that really is special. And so, yes, we could talk about the services at Your Wellness Connection, and we've done that a little bit. Again, that wasn't necessarily the point, other than for me to highlight how special it is in there. It's beyond just the services that you would expect, the holistic approach to all of it. But then there's the small changes, big shifts. Tell us what that's about, where that's going, because I know it's an ever evolving, I don't know what I'm calling it, foundation, organization. Yeah. Tell me more about it.
Yeah. So when I first joined the team at Your Wellness Connection, and I learned about, the small changes, big shifts model in the nonprofit, I knew that's where I was supposed to be, right? There was something pulling me to getting this education back into the underserved communities, or people who don't know where to turn. I was somebody who had just finished, I had played sports my whole life. I had just finished a degree in exercise science. And so if I didn't know these things about health and wellness, how can most of the general population, people who this isn't even their interest, know this? And so it sparked or ignited a flame in me to we've got to get this out there, right? I'm watching people firsthand go through these experiences at Your Wellness Connection. And so then when I found out that the nonprofit Small Changes, Big Shifts is taking this education out to underserved communities and teaching them small wellness tips, no matter where you're at in your well-being journey, no matter your financial status, what resources you have available to you, there are small things that you can do to better your well-being. All of us, everybody listening, no matter where you're at, there's something that you can do, taking that next right step. And I think sometimes when it comes to health and well-being, it's almost glorified as this self-care, expensive luxury thing, when there's so many small intentional changes that you can make in your day that will change the trajectory of your life. And I always tell people, small changes, big shifts. And as we all know here, it's not just a nonprofit, but it's really a movement. It's a framework. It's a mindset. It can be applied to all areas. So we really focus on the well-being aspect and taking care of yourself from that mind, body, and spirit perspective through these small changes and implementing small health habits. But I tell people when we're working with them, it can be applied to all areas of your life. It can be applied to your finances. It can be applied to your cleaning schedule. It can be applied to your parenting, right? It's all about those small intentional changes towards your bigger goal. But when you break it down into bite-sized pieces, it seems more realistic for people, and it helps them get those consistent habits and make it more of a lifestyle change rather than just a diet or a workout or a trend. It's actually a part of who they are.
The website, and we'll have it in the show notes, is smallchangesbigshifts.com. The mission, Small Changes, Big Shifts, empowers all people by meeting them where they are in their well-being journey. We simplify well-being by educating the community to support generational health change so people can become fully alive. I think the thing that I like about this movement that Bayleigh, you're talking about, the thing that I love about it, Michelle, is it can involve anything you're doing all day long. I guess I'd best describe it when I come in. I come in every 3 weeks generally to get adjusted, and some people, those that love getting adjusted, need to get adjusted, whatever. For me, I think it's both. Will rave about that experience, but it's more than that, because I always walk out. Excuse me. I always walk out with something more. Maybe it's a piece of advice to work on. Maybe it's, and I think, and Bayleigh, you know this. I mean, the thing about Michelle is that she is as well networked as anyone in this town. It's like going to the jack of all trades, or the whatever you want to call it. Like, hey, I need this. Oh, I got somebody for you. Oh, I got somebody for you. That it's just, I'm always going to walk out, unless everything is perfect, by the way, in my day, and I don't need anything. And when is our day ever perfect? I'm always going to walk out with something. And so my point, Michelle, is that I think, I mean, you tell me if I'm getting this right, that there's something that we could be working on every single moment. And that's kind of the point of all this, isn't it?
Yeah, a couple of things I want to tag on to what Bayleigh said. Well-being in the dictionary means happy. And Joel, it's hard to be happy when you're worried about how you're going to feed your kids, or that you got a stomach ache, or can you go out and see friends and not have to run to the restroom, because so many people have digestive distress. It's in the top 5 reasons people come see me, by the way, is digestion. And underneath anxiety, of course, pain, anxiety, sleep, digestion are some of the top 5. And so you could always be working on something. That's why I love our snackable deck. We just got a chance to participate in the Hellsberg Entrepreneurial Retreat, the Hellsberg Entrepreneurial Mentoring Retreat, which you've been a speaker for. It was a couple weeks ago. And we got a chance to create a little tiny snackable deck, because we did some well-being moments throughout the day. And what I do know to be true is you can always be working on your well-being. And some days you just need to take a break. But most days it's like, okay, how can I do more right than wrong? Joel, you may not know this. My undergrad's in accounting. Did you know that?
I did. The only reason why I know that is I remember the first time you told me, I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah. So I think about health as debits and credits. And so as you lay your head down tonight, you think, God, did I have more credits than debits? Did I put more good out into the world, or into my world, than I took out? So you can always be working on something, whether it's a smile on your face, whether it's doing, we've not talked about lymphatic drainage. Could I be doing castor oil packs? Could I be gargling? Could I be humming? I've got so many tricks and tips that I just have learned, because I'm trying to take my own medicine. I'm just trying to get out of this as well as possible. I'm that person that I want to slide into home plate. How do you got that? I got rounding the bases in there, right? I want to slide into home plate, and I want to be done. And I want to get as much life out of my life as I can. So
that's a home run right there. If we're going to go with that route, we will get to the home run question in a little bit. So you guys are always, and I'm talking in terms of small changes, big shifts. You guys are always working on something, always working on the next thing, or the next couple of things. I guess that's part of being the program director too, Bayleigh. So what's on the horizon now as we start heading towards 2025?
Yeah, so we are currently finishing up our Shift Experience Scholarship Program, and so that will end in January. And so what that program is we take 18 to 30-year-olds in underserved communities, and they can apply for an application where we will cover 6 months of their well-being. And so they can come into your Wellness Connection and get full service. You're going to get lab work. We'll tell you what you're deficient in, maybe some of your food allergies, and then guide you along that journey, providing the supplementation that you need. You get access to chiropractic, acupuncture, massage, esthetician, counseling, really this whole person health perspective. And so for people who don't know where to start, or don't have the resources to do so, they can apply for this program. And so we're wrapping that up. We've got a really good cohort. We've got 8 people that will be finishing up in January. 6 of them are nonprofit workers. And so we love being able to pour back into those that are pouring out into our community. community. So as we wrap that up at the beginning of 2025, we are then going to be looking to launch our Quadra education programs. And so really what we're currently doing as a program manager, I'll partner with other nonprofits and we'll do little half-day retreats where we'll talk about the quadrants of well-being. And so an example, we've worked with Awesome Ambitions in the past, and we did a food is fun day. And so we went in and we talked with the girls of how do you make healthy, mindful choices around eating. But then we also incorporate the mechanical quadrant where we do some stretching, and then we do the energetical quadrant where we do some meditation, and then we include the psycho-spiritual where we kind of do some journaling at the end and talk about their experience throughout the day. So all of our retreats always encompass all 4 of our quadrants and this whole person health perspective. And so as we go into 2025, we're looking to launch our own and host them at Your Wellness Connection for people to sign up to the classes and come. We'll have different age groups and different focuses for each one, but getting just back out into the community outside of our partnerships and actually bringing people into our building and servicing them through outside of all the services at Your Wellness Connection, but really providing them the education through our nonprofit arm.
Michelle, you want to add on to that at all?
Yeah, we just did something for Girl Scouts where we did around body image. I don't know if you know this number one concern between the age of 10 and 90 is body image, whether it's for yourself, your grandchild. We get it, it's like, God, I need to lose 10 pounds. Everybody has body dysmorphia. And so how can we do that? So we are excited to partner with other not-for-profits, like Bayleigh said, they're pouring out into the community. And how do we help those people stay more happy, more well? And so I'm super excited about that. We'll launch another scholarship program, probably spring. We're trying to look at the timing right now. As you well know, it is a not-for-profit, so it's funding. And so we are grateful for our partners that help us get this message out to the world. We do a lot of it at YWC for a couple reasons. One, that's where we live, metaphorically. 2, we're able
sometimes literally too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also 2, we're able to, maybe underwrite some of the care differently. In our magic wand world, if we had a vision for 5 years down the road, small changes would be in multiple communities where we help other providers have access, and other communities that maybe don't have access to people like us to have access, whether it's in Chicago or Southeast Kansas or Northwest Missouri, wherever it could be. We just want people to be able to have access to good thoughts and good food and great providers that are walking the talk. And the other thing, just as Joel, I think I got a heart for young people. And part of it's because, when I was, 15, went to the chiropractor because of a sports injury. And here I am many years later. And because of the Dr. John Lakin and his wife, Carol Lakin, I'm still alive. And so I just feel like it's my job to pay it forward. And so I'm going to spend the rest of my time on this side of the earth, this side of the ground, just trying to pour into young people. And so my personal vision is that in 5 years, 50% of the people we serve at Your Wellness Connection are under 40.
Wow. When I hear you talk about that, first off, the only change I'll make is you have a heart for everyone, but I know what your point was, is that you have a passion, just an even deeper passion, an even greater heart. I mean, Bayleigh, you know this, you always get a hug walking out, and it's got to match up to the heart. I finally learned the right way to do that. It took me like a year of coordinating because, I don't know that anybody thinks which side to hug. You just do it. No, it's always about the heart. So, but I know what your point is on the younger kids, and I know how much that means to you in part because of your own story. But when I hear what you're doing right now, or I know what you're doing, and think about greater purpose too. And again, going back to Bayleigh, you didn't know what you were signing up for. It was obviously much more than you realized. But the same thing for you too, Michelle. I mean, when you started your practice, or when you pursued this path of becoming a chiropractor and so much more, I don't know that you could envision all of this too. And so I'm curious what both of you make of small of everything that you guys are doing. I mean, not just small changes, big shifts, but the amount of people that you're touching, the younger generation, the older generation, that there have to be moments where you sit there and think, boy, this is really big. I think, to me, Bayleigh, that's one of the greatest, and I'm guessing it probably took me a lot more years than it's taking you to figure this out, because we get so locked into our work we get so locked into whatever it is. Like, I need to pay the bills. I need to take care of, the kids. That you sometimes forget that there's so much of it. There's such a greater purpose to all of that. It took me a long time to start to understand that. I understand it right now. I don't think I understood it, Bayleigh, when I was your age. Then again, I don't know that I was surrounded by someone like a Michelle to teach me something like that. I'm curious your perspective, on this week of gratitude, or on this holiday week, of what you think of this, just overall, this massive movement and your ability to change people's lives.
Yeah, I love what you said about how lucky I am to have met her this early in my life, right? And so I just am so grateful that I'm going to spend more years alive knowing what I know in this whole person realm, or this whole person health perspective. So with the work that we do, and as you mentioned earlier, servicing different generations, one of the biggest things that I love is the grace aspect of the work we do, right? You don't know what you don't know. But now that you're open and you are here to receive and to learn and to do better, that's where the power is. That's where the magic is. And so for me, the generational change aspect comes from, because I know better, I'm going to do better for my kids. And so that's the mission. That's why the target demographic is that younger generation, because if you know better, you'll do better. And that's how we're going to start to see that generational change occur. And, for me personally, I would not be the daughter that I am, the mother that I am, the partner that I am, if it was not for small changes, big shifts, the framework, the message, the mission, because it has changed my outlook on life. I do approach things from more of a gratitude perspective. So I was definitely somebody prior to, I always say there's a Bayleigh, like a pre-MR and post-MR. So like my pre-Dr. Robin, I really think I looked through life as a glass half empty. That was really kind of I was almost looking for something to be wrong, because there were so many things that I was healing within myself that I didn't know that I needed to heal, right? But for me, it was like, okay, well, if I can find flaws in everything else, there's no flaws in me. Right. And so then the more that I started to work on myself, it was easier to look at life from this gratitude perspective of, look at all that I have, and I'm somebody that's goal oriented. So it's easy to get stuck on the mountaintop, right? And not focusing on the journey. And so one piece of advice that I got very early in my career is, you're going to get to the top of the mountain. That's inevitable, right? You've got the drive, you're going to get to the top of the mountain. But if you don't slow down and look around, you're going to get to the top and be like, what was this for? And so I'm so grateful to know that. And, I'm in year 4 of my career, right? I entered the workforce in 2020. I'm so blessed that this early in my career, I understand the importance of the journey and paying attention to every moment that we're in. And that applies to your career, your personal life, whether you've got kids or nieces or nephews, or even just friends that you have a good support system. That is all just a moment of time. And so if you don't stop and realize where you're at and what lesson are you supposed to be picking up on in this chapter of life, it all leads to the next thing. And so it's very freeing for me to know that what's meant for me in this life won't pass me. And I just genuinely try to live from that mindset. It helps me stay grounded. It helps me stay grateful for what I have. And it also helps me stay grateful for the things that don't come to me, because I know that it just wasn't meant for me, and that the next step is going to be a bigger purpose. And that's been reflected in my professional career this whole time, because again, if what's meant for me didn't pass, if I wouldn't have walked into that door, I wouldn't be here today. But it was meant for me, so that's exactly why I did.
I am so inspired by what you just said, in part, and I'll learn from it. But I hear you talking about that, Bayleigh, and Michelle, I want your perspective on this, because I definitely did not know that in my 20s. I'm pretty sure I didn't know it in my 30s. I think I started to figure it out in my 40s. I have it now in my 50s, as much as I can, and we'll continue to work on it, right? But when I hear Bayleigh talk about that, Michelle, one, I hear a lot of your influence in there. And I wonder what you reflect upon when you were her age, and what you thought back then, or maybe what you know now. It has to be incredibly gratifying and special to have someone you're close with, that you've influenced, get this, and we don't get all of it, we never do, get this at such an early age with so much ahead, right? I mean, that's what you're trying to do with small shifts, big changes. That's what you're trying to do with everybody. But to see that figured out, or at least understood at a young age, has to be incredibly inspiring to you, I think.
Well, yeah, as I told you, it's one of the most special people I've ever got a chance to work with. And, I used to be called Murphy Brown because, pretty much a driver, not really, not a driver in look at me, a driver because I feel the passion and the purpose so deep in my soul. And I had that at 25. You gotta remember, I started practicing at the age of 25, about 6 weeks before I turned 26. And I remember Dr. Lakin teaching me about mind and, reading Napoleon Hill and Think and Grow Rich. And I was not around that. Remember, my mother was married 4 times by the time I was 17. And so he poured into me. So he was my Michelle. I was his Bayleigh. And I could see now, and I've never thought about this till right this moment. So it's extremely emotional because both he and his wife are gone. She died this year. Is how they poured into me so much. I was one of their kids. I'm like the big sister. Their daughter texted me this morning and said, "Can you talk?" So it is one of the highlights of my career. And Joel, to think about it, once again, at 25, I was $150,000 in debt. I had nowhere to go but up as far as a lot of things. And so many people have poured into me. It would take me easily 100 people I could list that poured into me my first few years. You talked about Dr. Cleveland earlier, Dr. Yenny, why we have the quadrants of well-being. I met Dr. Yenny because of Dr. Cleveland. And it's really all about connection back to your higher self, connection back to yourself, about understanding, I don't feel good today. Why don't I feel good today? Well, you know what? I had wheat and dairy yesterday, or I was around, I was around people yesterday that maybe don't live from an open heart, or I didn't get out and move. So I just want to inspire people wherever you're at right now, because I've been walking around dead, Joel. Even 6 years into practice, I was 31 years old. I can tell you the year that I was walking around dead. And I was the Bayleigh. I was successful in the outside world, but I wasn't successful in the inside world. And my job in Bayleigh's life is to remind her of who she is and who she isn't, which is just as important. And to be a grounding, positive force in her life, and not just hers, but everybody. I really do believe that my job is to just be a calming presence of light. I don't take it for granted.
Oh, it's powerful, and it's important, and I'm glad that both of you shared those perspectives. I want to get to my baseball themed questions. I didn't ask you guys if you both want to answer, or one. We'll roll with whatever. I know you guys have thought about it. So Bayleigh, I'll start with you, or you guys could jump in on this. How about a home run in your case in your young career?
Yeah, I think besides the obvious of where I've landed in my career that we've talked about throughout the rest of the show, I think for me, it's been running that scholarship program. It is an honor to be integrated into somebody's well-being journey and to be that person that they open up to, especially when they have stories of not trusting or not knowing where to turn. And it's even more inspirational to then see how big of a transformation people can make within a matter of 6 months if you're just setting the right intentions and you have access to the tools. And so for me, I grow as much in it as I lead the people through it. It's a mirror for me. I can't tell them to do things that I'm not doing myself. And so each time it's a home run for me because I grow every cohort in a different way. And that's how we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be evolving. We're supposed to be continuing to grow and to learn from each other. And so having access to that group of these beautiful spirits that are on their healing journey is a home run for me.
How about you, Michelle?
I've had a really blessed career, and I always tell myself that if for some reason I'm not here tomorrow, I've done what God wanted me to do. And I would say a home run for me, besides hiring Bayleigh and then having the phenomenal team we have at Your Wellness Connection, is when on my 30 year, we did 30 lessons that I learned about being. And I actually have it on my board over here. And so as we start to go into next year for my 33rd lesson, and just thinking about the lessons and the people that have, like I said, poured into me. And so, but just like you're just Joel, you're a bright light. Wherever you go, people love you. And I remember recently we had somebody in the office, and you're a rock star in our city, in our community, and you took time to take a photo with this young man who just was like, oh my God, that's Joel Goldberg. And so I think just a home run for me is being around people like you who come with an open heart and really truly care about this community. That's the biggest home run. And for 33 years to say that I've got the privilege of practicing in Kansas City, one of the most generous communities. Wow.
Well, thank you for including me as a small part. I say a small part because there's so many, and they don't have to go in there and take a picture of somebody. And I always like to say too, I don't know if this is like a defense mechanism or it's just easier to be self-deprecating, that, whatever words we want to use there, I don't know if you said celebrity or whatever, just put it in air quotes at least, please, because it's, my kids will do that if I'm not doing that. But at least on my end, and I'm not asking myself the home run question right now, just grateful that the work that I get to do of just being on TV and talking about baseball, which certainly was my passion and very selfishly enjoyable to me, that I get to love my job. Not everybody does, but then to be able to have that impact or bring a smile to somebody's face, to understand that somebody wants to take a picture, and that seems silly to me, by the way, but it makes somebody's life. And 10 years later, they come back to you, or 20 years later, and it's like, well, just one little moment can change somebody else's day. That's a powerful thing to understand. So would I want a picture with me? Heck no. But if it makes somebody's day and they go and share it with someone and tell somebody about it, that's a pretty cool thing. So how about a swing and a miss? I'll start with you, Michelle. And what did you learn from it?
Oh, I've had many. The one I'm most thinking about lately is in 2013 Labor Day weekend. I was at our lake house, and I got a Facebook said that somebody was applying for a job, and I let somebody leaving or applying make a decision that changed my culture drastically. And I had this guy that modeled his facility after our facility. And he said to Michelle, why do you care so much? Just collect rent and pay your building off. You have retirement. And I listened to him, Joel. And then I had that phone call in September of 2013 that I made a decision that was right in so many ways and wrong in much more. And I think it really hurt my culture. I can't just show up and collect the money. That's not my assignment. And if it's your assignment, fine, but it's not my assignment. I'm a collaborator. So that was probably a big swing and miss. Not probably, it was.
Yeah, it was. Bayleigh, how about you?
For me, I'm early in my career, so I'd like to say that I don't have too many swingers. I think I'm constantly, my batting average is just low right now. Let's just say that, okay? But I think the biggest lesson for me has just been thinking that I can do it all on my own has been my biggest swing and a miss. I come from, I'm an athlete by nature. So I think that it's like, let's just go grind it out. I've got that grind mindset of like, we can do it. It has been very powerful for me and very healing for me to ask for help and to delegate. And so that has been a lesson that I'm still continuing to learn, but was definitely a rough, rocky start for me at the beginning, was trying to take on more because I want to be a team player. I want to help. And so I would just say yes, but there was times that I was letting things fall through the cracks. So the biggest lesson for me has been collaborating and working with a team, and it's okay to pass things on.
Good lesson to learn. All right, last one on the baseball theme question, small ball. Michelle, we've talked about this before. Small ball to me, and I don't always explain it anymore because I use it every week and turned it into a book and a second book coming, but small ball to me in baseball terms, the sacrifice, the bunts, the things that don't show up on the score sheet. And that's why I like to use it for life too. We all judge ourselves or others, right or wrong, by what we see on the outside, or we celebrate the buying a new home or a new car or whatever, a great vacation. But what are the little things that make a difference? The little things that really are small shifts, big changes, right? So what, Michelle, is small ball to you?
Wow. With you describing that, it changed my answer. So thank you for doing that.
You want to think more about it or no?
No, actually, no, I'll go. And then I've got some ideas for people to really get the most out of Thanksgiving. I'm a great aunt. I have 10 nieces and nephews. I'm in the life of 7 of them pretty consistently. Talk to them, probably most of them, a couple times a month. But I have some littles. I call them littles, my great nieces and nephews. And I think small ball for me is slowing the F down, slowing down and getting at their level and taking time to be with them. I believe that for me, I'm thinking about time. I'm thinking about my own, this sounds morbid, my own exit. And what do I want to, how do I want to, leave? How do I want to exit this journey, whether it's exit my practice, exit life, but how do I want to? So small ball for me is slowing down and spending time with those littles.
I love that. That's really good. And, I think a lot of us have a hard time, myself included, slowing it down. We were so focused and sometimes you just got to open the eyes up, see what's around you, slow it down, embrace the journey. Bayleigh, what's small ball to you?
Small ball is everything to me, really, especially it's closely related to small changes, big shifts. It's all about those small intentional changes. And so for me, I took your question more in the health and well-being space. And so what are small things that I can do every day to put myself in a position to be at my optimal health, right? So like starting my day with water first thing in the morning. It's something that's very simple. And then ending my day with gratitude. Those are my 2 non-negotiables. I put them on my checklist every day, and it helps me mentally knowing that I crossed them off. So I end every day with 3 things that I'm grateful for. It was a practice that I started right when I joined the team, and it kind of just helps you reground at the end of the day, because the days are fast. And so it's hard to be like, what went well? What's going good in my life? And so it is a mental practice that has transformed my mindset to just reflect each night on 3 things that I'm grateful for. And it's perfect going into the holiday season.
Really interesting that you say that, because I don't always get it, but I've tried to make it a non-negotiable to do that same practice to start the day. And only because sometimes I'd fall asleep or whatever at night, and then it wouldn't happen. And these late night baseball games. So I try to do that at the start of the day after a meditation. And I've talked about that some on this podcast. It's a game changer. It sets the tone for the day and just at least enables me to slow down. I kind of started it through advice of a good friend of mine, Jeff Landsman, who's very into wellness, my longtime friend, who said he will not doom scroll or do anything on his phone until he's done that meditation and that journaling first thing in the morning. So it's an important part no matter what, and a piece of small ball that I've picked up. Okay, 4 final questions as we round the bases. The final one will have to do with Thanksgiving, but let's talk about Bayleigh and Michelle, the athletes, because I've heard stories about Michelle on the basketball court, and Bayleigh, you're much more recently on the volleyball court. Tell me about your volleyball career. Give me a little scouting report on you as a volleyball player.
Oh man. So volleyball was actually my second love. I started with basketball very early on, playing sports since I was 8. Those people that I grew up playing sports with are my best friends today. So when I say that it is a part of who I am, it has shaped who I've become and who's around me. And so I give a lot of who I am today to the sports world. But I started volleyball when I was in, I think, 5th grade competitively, played through college. I went to Fort Hays State University. I was a middle in high school. And then when I got to Fort Hays, we ran a 3 middle offense. So I actually transitioned to a right side, had to learn to set. That was completely new for me. So I learned a lot in college, and I had the best teammates. The season in my volleyball collegiate career didn't go as I had planned it to when I was first, in the recruiting process. But the people that I met along the way are my sisters. We are bonded for life. It is friendships and lessons that I wouldn't trade for the world.
All right, Michelle, let's go back. I'm picturing, well, you played a lot of sports, I know, but I'm picturing like that scrappy guard on the basketball court. You've talked to me about basketball a little bit. Go back to those very young years of Michelle, the athlete.
Well, I didn't start playing any sports until I was a sophomore in high school. So I have 3 years, and it's a funny way how I got there, but I'm glad I got there. I got a chance to go play at Labette Community College for 2 years, mostly because of my attitude, and I was fast. So was not the guard. but I gotta play. And the coach would say, Michelle, you're on the team because your attitude. You always show up. You give it 100%. And so I don't have quite the athleticism that Bayleigh has, but I do have the heart.
Well, now that shows on the pickleball court, I believe, if the stories that I've heard are true. But that same heart, by the way, that heart comes back to it again, right? That will, that desire. And so I always like sometimes to hear some of those fun athlete stories and get that perspective on that. Second question, as we round the bases, I was just thinking about this, and Bayleigh, this one will be for you, because everything that you're learning right now is going to get passed on to your kids. They will benefit from that, and anyone within that ecosystem in your world, and anyone that they touch. And I bring that up only because I was in, I don't know, a month ago, and your kids were in at that moment, in the lobby, and so I was able to watch you, with them. What does it mean to you to know that you have this knowledge at such a young age that really they could start understanding now?
Yeah, I think that is, it's priceless to me, is the best way to put it. My kids are going to grow up in a way. And let me just also say that I know that there's going to be some things that they're going to have to unlearn from me or heal from me, or some characteristics or traits that they say it ends with me. And that's, again, how it's supposed to be. So I think all parents listening, if you have a kid, maybe an adult kid like me, that says, hey, I'm stepping out, I'm making generational change, don't take it personal. There's so many lessons of good things that you take that your parents gave you, but then there's opportunities like I have now where I'm just exposed to so much more, to where it's like, I think about the athlete I could have been, right? Like I was going to a 2-a-day practice and heading to the calf and eating 2 burgers and fries and pizza, so it's like, what if I would have been fueling myself the way that I know now, and even mentally fueling myself the way that I know now? Who could I have been in that, again, I think to the sports world, who would I have been in that realm? And so for me, I know that my kids are going to grow up knowing how to fuel themselves properly. That's a big one. That's a big generational change we're making in our household. And then the second thing is knowing that all of your feelings are okay. All of your feelings are always okay. How you react is where we need to, is what we coach and is what we talk through. And so letting them know that no matter what, and especially, I've got African Latino kids, we come from cultures that don't talk about your feelings, don't talk about it being okay. And so it is powerful to me to know that they are not only going to be speaking life into themselves, but hopefully their friends, and hopefully our family, all of our past generations of those, hopefully they can look at our kids and say, okay, wow, yes, this is how it's supposed to be, and encourage them to be who they are authentically, because there's so many things that we can learn from kids. I'll have to write a book one day on the lessons that my kids are teaching me, because if you're open to the lessons, they're constantly coming. I think kids are put on this earth how we're designed to be, and so we can learn a lot from them if we kind of push our pride aside and get a chance to put yourself in a kid's perspective.
My only piece of advice, I think Michelle would agree with this, is that whenever that book happens, 5 years, 10 years, 3 years, 15 years, start jotting down in your phone or somewhere every single one of those things now.
Perfect.
It'll be a lot easier to untangle then. And it's really just a form of journaling is all it is. So if you're not doing that already, I'm sure you're journaling. Just get it out there, because 1, you'll have those memories forever, and 2, it'll be a lot easier to write that book, and it's going to be a heck of a book. Third question as we round the bases. This one's totally out of nowhere, other than the fact that I think on our questionnaire that we do, Michelle, you filled this out, and I don't know that I knew this one, but you have a little bit of a deeper connection to the Morse code than most of us.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Joel, congratulations on your new book coming out. Super excited about that. I remember when you actually did the show in your first book, we talked about small changes, big shifts, and some similarities. So
because I felt I had to ask you first. We're going to call this thing Small Ball, Big Results, and it really sounds like I'm stealing your name. Are you okay with that? And you were, thankfully. But go on, sorry.
Yes, so much fun there. So congratulations. I do want to echo what you said to Bayleigh, is to start jotting those downs. Maybe it's in your iPhone with a note, lessons I'm learning, because it does matter. I remember when I did the 30 lessons I learned, I actually started on that about 9 months before, and just started thinking about the stories that I learned. Here's a perfect one for life right now is don't let the negative few affect the positive many. And Joel, I know you get that from being a public person. So I forgot the question.
Morse code.
Oh yeah. Okay, the Morse
totally,
code. Yeah,
totally,
My
totally off on a tangent, but it was too good of a fact to pass up.
Yeah. My mother's maiden name is Morse. And so Samuel Morse, who invented Morse code, is in her family line. It makes him in my family line. So, So I don't even know if Bayleigh knew that fact.
I did not know
I
that.
didn't
How
either.
cool.
Yeah. Great grandfather or
Yeah, great,
something like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I like fun facts because yes, I didn't know that until I read it on our survey, and so we all learned something new today. But the point of this podcast, gratitude. We have talked a ton about the incredible work at Small Changes, Big Shifts. We're going to wrap it up for each of you with a 2-part Thanksgiving related question. 1, go to Thanksgiving food, and 2, one thing that you would recommend to anyone here on Thanksgiving. And by the way, as I said before, 365 days a year. So it could be August that you're listening to this. It could be June. This will apply. One piece of gratitude advice or something that someone can take and use today. A food and a piece of gratitude advice. Bayleigh, I'm going to start with you.
Okay. My go-to food is my grandma's homemade stuffing. It is not gluten-free currently, but maybe it will be something that I can put a spin on. And so that is one that I like plan my talks for because it is my favorite Thanksgiving dish. And my piece of advice for people kind of going into this holiday season, and especially Thanksgiving time, is take a moment to yourself before entering a room and kind of set the intention. Taking a breath and knowing what your boundaries are, kind of walking in. So family is tricky. Sometimes it can be a very exciting thing. It can be a heavy thing for people. Either way, how do you want to show up? What way do you want to present yourself to this room? And so take a second before you walk in. Take a deep breath, because if you're looking to get offended, you're going to be offended when you walk in. So kind of just shifting that mindset of what the intention is and setting yourself up for success before entering in your family gatherings.
Good stuff. Okay, Michelle, Thanksgiving food. Do you have a guilty pleasure? You're always so well behaved, it feels like.
Well, my guilty pleasure is French Fry Fridays.
Okay.
However, I will probably not be having French fries on Thanksgiving. Well, actually, I will, because I know where I'm going to lunch. So I'm going to eat out on that day. So I probably will have French fries. Maybe pumpkin pie, Joel. But I really love what Bayleigh said. So I could just air quote ditto. Just go in looking for what's working. Whether it's in your own body, your own heart, and the people around you. I do believe that most people really just want to feel loved, and they want to be loved. So just go in with a loving heart and loving eyes, and I think you'll be surprised about how much less stressful the holiday is.
Amen to all of that. To both of you and everyone listening, if you're listening the week this comes out, a happy Thanksgiving. We can practice that gratitude, though, all year long. For more information, again, check out the website and this incredible movement, smallchangesbigshifts.com. So grateful to both of you for many things beyond just this podcast. Thank you so much for doing it, though. To Dr. Michelle Robin, thanks for everything, of course. And I look forward to all that continuing. Bayleigh Petty, I'm so excited for you and the early part of this journey. What a special thing to be involved with and continue to have success and change people's lives. Thank you both. Happy Thanksgiving, and really appreciate you spending time today.
Thank you, Joel.
Joel, you rock. Hey, I'm sending you a big heart-to-heart hug.
There it is. I'll get one in person very soon. Thank you, ladies.
Joel Goldberg. It's around the bases. Everybody knows Joel Goldberg.